Want to know why Mick Mars has so many bone issues? 40 years of carrying this band on his back will do that to a man. Renegade Jukebox presents The Dirt, a Motley Crue retrospective.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Renegade Jukebox on RenegadePopCulture.com. My name is Nick, as usual.
This is Mike.
And we're once again back, of course, with The Dirt, a Motley Crue retrospective. And I want to start things off by just saying this, Mike. Judas Priest fucking rules.
Yeah, they do. And they still do.
Oh, I bring this up purely because of how amazing Invincible Shield was. Like, we're not going to get the chance to talk about it on a full episode at all, but I just want to bring up how amazing this album is. And especially because Motley Crue, at the time of this recording on April 26th, have released a brand new song that I am not going anywhere near because I don't want to jump too far ahead in the timeline just yet, but I can only imagine based off of the things I have heard about it so far, it's making a lot of people tug at their collars.
Oh, God. And again, not to go too far into the future, but if this series continues far enough that we get like a new full record, I'm terrified.
You and me both, man. You and me both. And I want to say all of this purely because this is why we make so many jokes about Vince Neil and the band as a whole, I guess, at this rate. This is why even on Judas Priest's lowest moments, like even Nostradamus, which is by no means one of my favorite Judas Priest albums, but the main problem with that record is its filler. It has genuinely good songs on it. Even something on like the glammier days like Turbo or Ram It Down, even those have genuinely really great songs on them. Like even Priest at their lowest points, they've never embarrassed themselves to the degree Motley Crue have.
That's true. And we've only really barely scratched the surface of their long and maybe overextended discography.
And Mike, introduce the record we are about to talk about today, because this is considered by many fans I have talked to in the last week or so to be one of their first blunders.
This is 1985's Theater of Pain.
And I know everybody can't see the vinyl that I'm holding up to Mike, but admittedly, this pink splatter variant with like pink and black on it is admittedly pretty cool looking.
Yeah, that does look pretty awesome. I wish I could say the same about the album itself.
Yeah, to just cut to the chase, all of the fans are absolutely right. This album is not, I don't even want to say necessarily that it's bad, but it really makes me feel that I might have been too hard on, no pun intended. I might have been too difficult towards Too Fast for Love. I mean, at least that album as a debut, it's the foundation you can build upon from. And the songs on that album genuinely are worth listening to if you're into, or as you really should be if you're into metal. If you're into old school heavy metal, this is something that would be up your alley. And even going back and rewatching one of their Google Play interviews that they did like a decade ago before they did this final tour, they were talking about how this was so much more of a punk inspired album, and people were surprised that Shout at the Devil was more a proper heavy metal album in comparison. Honestly, I have a lot to appreciate about Too Fast for Love. In hindsight, I feel like I was way too difficult towards it. Theater of Pain really feels like the soundtrack of a band going through a tumultuous period, and not to kind of jump ahead years ahead, not channeling it into their music the way let's just say Slipknot, for example, after the debut recording Iowa, or taking the misery they experienced from Iowa and putting it towards Volume 3, or taking the death of Paul and putting that towards Gray Chapter as examples. Just with this, it really feels like we really need to make a third album because, Mike, is it cool if I just borderline turn into a Wikipedia page for a minute?
Go ahead.
Yeah, to kind of pick up where we left off on, everybody knows the Ozzy tour for Shout at the Devil, where they opened for the band and Ozzy was snorting ants and drinking his own piss. Everybody knows all about this. If you want more information about it, just go read The Dirt. Go read that book in its entire, just, you don't need me to explain it. But the biggest one and the most noteworthy one, I feel, is the death of Razzle. Mike, do you know who Razzle was?
I'm vaguely familiar, but for the audience sake, who is Razzle?
So Nicholas Razzle Dingley was the drummer for a glam band called Hanoi Rocks. And what happens is on December 8th of 1984, him and Vince Neil were driving home from a liquor store, of course, and there was a head-on collision where Razzle died. So obviously, Vince Neil was held accountable for it, right?
Of course.
Technically. So he was slapped with a DUI and a vehicular manslaughter charge. But Mike, guess how long he was sentenced to jail for?
A night?
Yes. No, this is almost just as bad. He was sentenced to 30 days in jail, but he only ended up serving barely 3 weeks.
Wow.
And got slapped with a $2 million fine. I'm sure his record sales were able to pay that off pretty quick.
Oh, yeah, that's like nothing.
Yeah, so this is why we have no problem making jokes. The guy can clearly take the hit. He can clearly take the jokes at this rate. And this is why I brought up Judas Priest at the top of this, is that they've never done anything that embarrassing.
No, not even close.
But there is one more noteworthy thing I would like to bring up, and that is Nikki Sixx's beginning heroin addiction. We all know the band was hardcore partiers. We know that they basically did all of the paraphernalia. So really, this is kind of just the beginning of Nikki's downfall at the height of their popularity, which we'll probably get more into when once we start talking about girls in the next episode. But really, you would think he would want to channel some of his misery at that point into a darker album to follow up Shout at the Devil with, but that unfortunately is not the case here. It just kind of felt like, let's be as radio friendly as possible,
which results in I've been using this word a lot just in our messages, but the best way to describe this album is sleepy. Like, even in some of the tracks that have more energy and like a fast tempo, they still feel phoned in.
Yeah, it's not even that this album is necessarily bad. It's just its biggest crime is that it's boring. And you'll hear us say that a lot throughout this probably half-hour long free podcast. So please check out Renegade Jukebox on Spotify and renegadepopculture.com.
And not only is it boring, it's also, I would say, kind of poorly ordered as far as the track list.
Just to kind of start cutting into the music on this thing, it starts off with less of a bang and more of a whimper. City Boy Blues, I know that it's a cliche to say starts off with a whimper rather than a bang. Like, just to illustrate my point, we're going to drop some samples in here. Just listen to this sample on how Shout at the Devil starts off. that gets you hyped to hear the rest of the album from minute number 1. City Boy Blues, on the other hand, again, it's not that it's necessarily bad. It's just it doesn't get me amped or hyped up to hear the rest of this. It just starts.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. I like, for the most part, the riffs. And yeah, this is just it's Motley Crue's on like autopilot.
I know this is going to be a really cliche joke, but it feels like if you put Motley Crue 80s album into AI, and this is what it would reproduce, honestly.
Normally, I'm not a big fan of those jokes, but this time, it makes sense.
And here's the thing, even the production, which no disrespect to Tom Werman, but him and Nicky had a serious falling out over the production of this album, to the point where Nicky was trash talking him about the making of this and not, giving it the proper follow up to Shout at the Devil. But then Tom Werman is basically like in some interview that it's like, yeah, I helped you guys make millions of dollars and this is the thanks I get. Like, I don't even have that much else to say about the song. It's not god awful, but I have zero desire to hear this thing ever again.
Same. And I bet you and I both could say the same for the second track.
See, I don't hate Smoking in the Boys' Room. My main takeaway with it is that, yeah, it's a unique cover at the time, taking this more kind of blues rocky kind of song and, giving it a more 80s metal twist. But I've heard it so many times at my day job that I am just sick of hearing it. I'd almost prefer hearing the original over this by now.
And this is kind of the perfect example of how overexposure can just kill a song. Like, the first time people listened to this in like 1985, it probably was more, I don't want to say shocking, but it just kind of fit better for the time. But the more you listen to it, the less value it has. Almost like used chewing gum.
I will say this, at least the music video has the decency to include Michael Berryman from The Hills Have Eyes and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So as a big horror nerd, at least they're giving Michael Berryman some screen time on MTV. And that's the main thing you got to remember. Why this song would have been as exposed as it is because of MTV and it just being this brand new thing to expose new bands to people, which on paper is great. Just unfortunately, it's resulted in a song we're probably never going to escape well into our 50s. And Motley Crue's heads will be in a jar like in Futurama at that point.
Oh,
after they reunite with Mick Mars with his head in a jar, no less, and he'll still have his boat issues. So, like, all joking aside, like, again, it's not that it's a bad cover necessarily. Dare I say it's almost good. Like Mike said, I've heard it enough.
Yeah. And that's the problem. Like, it's a good cover, but that's all it is.
Yeah, they don't really do anything to help elevate it or make it be like, oh my God, we mainly do hear this over the original, to be honest, but it doesn't give you really that much of a different experience, if I remember correctly, even.
Like, the most differences is just like the very subtle nuances in like the two different vocalists.
And guitar tone, I guess.
Yeah, but like outside of that, they're basically just the same song.
And then, oh my God, we get a good song.
Louder Than Hell honestly should have been the opening track.
I'm going to have to agree with you. What if I told you this apparently was an outtake from the Shout at the Devil sessions?
I would believe you because it sounds closer to that era.
honestly, like knowing that just automatically makes it one of the better cuts on this thing. It actually has a pretty strong guitar solo out of Mick on this thing. And yeah, it does have the usual Vince Neil repeat the song as the song title as the chorus ad nauseum trope here, but it works. It at least gets you a good song to carry you through the rest of this half an hour. The next one, keep your eye on the money. And I'm just going to say this for our listeners right now. Me and Mike had the same brain on all of these songs. He literally sent me this and I wrote down this in my notes last night. It just sounds like a poor man's Looks That Kill, minus any of the edge or forceful instrumentation.
Yeah, took the words right out of my mouth.
Like, this is also the part of the album where I realize how muted Nicky's bass is on this album. Even as simplistic as his bass lines typically are on the previous two records, I could at least hear them.
Yeah, I think that kind of solidified my issue with this album's production. Like, I know metalheads love to make fun of bass players, but no matter how simple their their bass parts are, it still adds texture to the overall sound. To lose that or to mute it, like you will start to notice.
Also, I'm going to name 3 names for amazing bass players. Geddy Lee from Rush, Steve DiGiorgio from Testament, Death, and Sadus. And then last but certainly not least, we know him, we love him, Steve Harris from Iron Maiden. No excuses.
Exactly.
I will say this, the best thing on this song is honestly probably Tommy's little drum fill he does in the first minute. And then I'm just going to include this as a sample so we can fill our sample quota. Mick does another awesome solo. Take it away, Mick. Shred your head off. I don't honestly have that much else to say about this song. It's not exactly thrilling, but I can at least identify parts that I liked about it and could have been used to flesh out a better track.
Yeah, that's about where I am too. But Nick,
now
it's time.
We get to the penultimate one, their first power ballad, Home Sweet Home. Home Sweet Home, Home Sweet Home. Or to fill our Vince Neil joke quota for the episode that I pulled up from YouTube, he's on his way. He's on his way to get an ice cream cone. We will have better ones. I have pulled up so many bits of comedy gold from the YouTube comment sections that the Girls episode is going to have a way better one than that. But okay, here's the main thing about this song that's kind of frustrating. This feels like a closing track.
Yes.
Like even to the point where they still close their live shows with this song to this day. It should have been the closing track to give the album more of a finality to it. I feel like the way I like albums to end is it makes you feel like you've been through an experience, whether it's half an hour or an hour.
I agree with that.
This could have worked as a really great closer. I hear it enough at work on rock radio to this day, much like Smoking in the Boys Room, to the point where I almost could never hear it again and I would be happy. But I mean, I guess that does show that it has staying power.
So much staying power that like years later, do you remember the remix they did with Chester Bennington?
I didn't have the chance to check that one out, but I also have another nu metal cover to go along with this. You want to know who covered this, Mike?
Oh no.
Limp Bizkit.
Hmm.
And you want to know something? They put it on a greatest hits album, and they managed to have it have more emotional impact and power as a closer to a greatest hits album.
Wow. When you're upstaged by Limp Bizkit, that's when you know you're doing something wrong.
And 20 years after the oh my god. Anyways, again, I don't want to just dunk on the song for the sake of it. It honestly is a good power ballad. It's just its track placement is wrong. It's overplayed to death. But at the same time, dare I say it, it could very well be their best power ballad.
Yes, it is 100% their best power ballad.
One thing I want to bring up to you, though, that is really cool. And as much as I hate jumping ahead in the catalog to mention stuff, but here's something kind of awesome that John Corabi did when he was touring behind the self-titled record. When they would play this, they would turn it into this acoustic, bluesy, sorrowful song. And it's actually really cool.
Oh, that does sound great.
Yeah, like it just strips everything back. The piano's gone. Like, I know to some people it'd be like, oh, you're taking away the thing that makes it as iconic as it is. But honestly, it just makes it seem like this band that has partied so hard for, like, at that point, a decade and a half, that it's this sorrowful reflection about going home. Like, I honestly would prefer a Corabi version of that acoustically. And I would be like, okay, I'd be down to hear that for the next 20 years. I'll take that over the original.
Yeah.
But we'll give Corabi his day in court once we get to the self-titled. But honestly, at this rate, we're just fucking stalling because this album is front loaded, guys. We're just going to cut right to the chase because I was struggling to even come up with notes for this.
Yeah, I was kind of in the same position. Like, I got a little bit excited when I heard the next track, which is Tonight We Need a Lover. Like, it starts off with a little more energy, but the track just kind of doesn't really go anywhere.
It's a skipper for me. It has one kind of cool riff before the guitar solo. That's honestly all I've got for notes. It's the definition of in one ear and out the other for me. So, like, if you've got more notes than I do, I mean, please, by all means.
I mean, I don't really have much more than, oh, we get a little bit of energy after the big power ballad. But I think that more accurately describes the track after that, which is Use It or Lose It.
Dick joke. I've got to be honest. So, yes, Tommy gets to show off some admittedly cool double bass work in it. The instrumentals are pretty solid, even if the lyrics do feel like something Dr. Roxo would write on Metalocalypse. This might be one of the slightly better cuts for me. Like, I'm honestly struggling to pick 3 songs out of this thing.
I'm pretty sure I have my 3 already, but I sympathize with your struggle.
And this is another horror connection that I am gladly going to talk about. So the next song, Save Our Souls, my main thing is that it's used in the amazing, I dare say masterpiece, Lamberto Bava and Dario Argento's horror classic, Demons. I don't even remember which scene the song even plays in because I'm going to be honest, this is another in one ear, out the other song. It just repeats the title of the song ad nauseum for the chorus. It's not that fast of a tune. But if your main takeaway from this podcast, once you're done listening to it, guys, go watch the movie Demons. It's amazing. It's gory as hell. It's so funny. Watch Demons 1 and 2 back to back, actually.
Yeah, you'll get more enjoyment out of those than probably the very definition of sleepy Motley Crue.
Well, also, if my main takeaway is just how dull Save Our Souls is, just the way that it's probably used in the movie. If I watch it again, I'd probably be like, the Billy Idol song when it pops up is way better. Even when Phenomena uses Flash the Blade by Iron Maiden the 2 times it does in the movie, it's awesome. Like that does 80s metal better there. As much as I personally do like Demons a hair more than Phenomena, I'd almost also just say also watch Tenebrae in there. Just watch Dario Argento movies, kids. It's good for you. And honestly, at this rate, we're just kind of stalling, guys, because these last 2 songs, Mike, which one do you want to take for your note and which one do you want to take for my note? Because I'm totally down to take Raise Your Hands to Rock if you want to take Fight for Your Rights.
Yeah, go ahead, because pretty much my note for Raise Your Hand to Rock is you're not Twisted Sister.
Mine was the opposite. It was Raise Your Hands to Rock is basically a poor man's AC/DC, but not as fun, or, you know, as overplayed as a lot of the Brian Johnson songs can get. The Bon Scott era AC/DC songs, they still hit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Bon Scott era AC/DC, it has got a leg up on this. And then Fight for Your Rights, it just makes you want to listen to Fight for Your Right to Party instead.
I had the exact same note.
At least it has the decency to have a Kerry King solo in it.
Yep.
But that brings us to the end of the album. Like, even after 3 listens, I don't honestly remember much about it after listening to it.
This album really is only best known for its singles and not much else.
Even that Google Play interview I was talking about earlier, even Vince Neil says in that interview that if you told me to name a song off the back half of this thing, I really honestly couldn't tell you. And the guy got in a drunk fight with Nicolas Cage, for fuck's sake. So you know something's wrong there.
With that being said, do you have 3 songs to pick as your favorites?
I'm just going to go Louder Than Hell, Use It or Lose It, and just to fit the single quota, Home Sweet Home, sure.
Yeah, that's honestly the 3 that I had in mind too.
And as much as I normally don't try to do thesis statements with these podcasts, just to kind of bring everything full circle, this is again why I brought up Judas Priest at the top of this episode, just to kind of make it more interesting and exciting for a band that's well over 50 years old, for a band that really should not be making music as good as they are. Like, the last 2 Judas Priest albums have been top tier. Like, they belong like in the conversation with like Painkiller, Screaming for Vengeance, Defenders of the Faith, Stained Class. Like, those albums are fantastic. Go listen to Invincible Shield, guys. It's awesome. Even at their lowest points, like Turbo or Ram It Down or Nostradamus, or even if you wanted to make the argument against like both Ripper era albums, which I got to stick up for Jugulator a little bit just because the riffs on that thing are awesome. Like, even the Priest albums that people don't like, they have more merit than this, and Judas Priest have never stooped to the level of doing something as embarrassing as Motley Crue kind of have. And that's why I'm kind of nervous about the prospect of us covering a new album by them, even for John 5 riffs.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too.
It just seems like we're just dunking on the band currently rather than talking about the record. But like, Theater of Pain really does not give us much to talk about.
Exactly. Okay, so the good news is the next 2 records will have more material to talk about. I don't want to say too much because I want to save my thoughts for when we get there, but until sort of the end of Motley Crue's discography, I don't think we're going to listen to anything as dreadfully nothing as Theater of Pain.
Yeah, at least I can forget Theater of Pain exists. I can at least go like, okay, it's in my box set, but I'm probably never going to listen to it ever again. I'm not embarrassed to own it the way some people might own some of their later stuff, but those are stories for other times. So I guess let's do the shameless self promo and get out of here because I'm done kind of meandering.
Same. So, with that being said, Nick, where can everyone find you online?
Super Saiyan Death Metal God on Instagram. I post album covers, movies I'm watching, albums on vinyl I own, video games I happen to be playing. Go give me a follow. Go binge like my page. I'm currently about to crack 3,300 followers, so I'm doing pretty well at the moment. So go support the habit. And, if I got you into some awesome music, I did my job.
Nice. And you guys can find me on various social media at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterbox.com/Coach K42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and that place at Ren Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. You need to escape, so do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Jukebox. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.